Howdy. Well, welcome to part 2 of restoring the Model 99 22 repeater. Getting into the valve today, and it's just, if you got anything wrong with your hands, where you, like me, where your fingers just kind of snap open all of a sudden and lock for a second or two, you're gonna love this. Tiny little small seat clips and little parts and stuff want to fling doing all over the place. If you get that mad twitch like I do. So a little sweeping and a little cussing, and a couple hours later I finally found a couple of parts I needed that I lost, and that flat kind of valve guy thing that snaps into the other side of the valve. I got something in that kit that didn't even look remotely like that part, so I had to clean the old one up and use it. And somebody was using a thin little washer about that big around, where the whole washer only about that wide, but it's got a big hole in the middle to hold the valve, that flat kind of valve guide, the valve stem guide on the other end in there, because he didn't turn the thing upside down and press it in until it locked. Somebody was fixing that thing and just didn't have an eye for detail. And you have to when you work on these things, believe me. My biggest problem is just that twitchy, snapping open thing with my hands. I've got to figure out what causes that. Anyway, so I got the valve done, and we'll be moving on to some other things here in a bit. I gotta take all the main spring out, and it's got like 3 or 4 little rods in there, and a cam with a big flat one. They just say brakes all the time. Well, this one didn't. Take all the stuff out, clean it up, shine it up, and polish them real nice. Use the little stainless steel wire wheels in a Dremel moto tool, and that equals about a 600 grit polish. That's pretty good for inside, and the wear surfaces of the sears and trigger, all that stuff. And then you put some moly paste on that for engines and whatnot. We use that as an assembly lube. The graphited version for cam lobes and stuff on new cams and such, so it breaks in with the lifters. Yeah, this time anyway, we'll start off with redoing the valve. So let's go. And here's what the valve looks like. 1965 stuff. It brings the gas in on the bottom and puts it out on the top. And it fits in that open spot there, right towards the front of the mechanism. Right where I'm pointing right there. That's where the valve fits in, and the rod, the little rod against my finger, goes in there in that where I'm putting the screwdriver right there to remove it. Okay, now that I've got the top side of the valve apart, that's this part here. This down here has more parts in it. It's a separate section. You can see that brass tube that screws onto this end, and that's the valve stem. A little different on this one. The small end of the spring goes on there to go against the smaller base. There's a tube that goes over the spring but acts as a sort of piston too, I think. And this part here is actually 2 parts. The white part presses into the other end here, which needs to be cleaned out, and the O-ring goes on the outside of it, so you got to lube that up and then press it in there. And that's like a flat sort of donut seal there, and it's slotted for a screwdriver there. I use that big one over there. And there is another seal right there. You can see the ring land there. So I have to get some Q-tips and my cleaning stuff and get in there and clean that thing out real good. Polish the brass and polish the stem there. You can see the stem there is pretty rusty. Spring looks in good shape. That looks like it's supposed to be brass or bronze there. Never saw one like that. But we will get to work on this part. I got the magazine spring, but we'll worry about that after we got these other parts. All this in here cleaned up and re-lubed and all that. Okay, this bottom row is the parts taken out of the bottom of the valve. You see on the right here, I got to clean it out yet. And I lost that thing there. It bounced out of my hands and rolled. It hit my belly, rolled on the floor, and I don't know where it went. See, there's a collar broke off in the center there. Anyway, these are the parts. That's a screen on the right. That's the plastic piercing pin that goes in there. This collar-like rubber piston seal looking thing goes over top of that, and that screws in right there to hold the whole mess in. So a plastic piercing pin, I wouldn't think that would last very long. And I don't see any of this stuff. So I don't know. I got the piercing thing there, but that when it looks like a piston seal, I ain't got nothing that looks like that. And I look over here, and I don't see any place else where there's a plastic seal or, you know, something like that. I don't know, man. There's just nothing else like that there. Unless that goes, the white thing on the left goes inside the one on the right. You stick the whole mess in the left side thingy right there. The other one would fit nice, but you didn't have no place to put the seal on like that one. So it's got that little collar there. That's where that seal right there goes. Okay, that's what Q-tip looks like after using some mineral spirits to clean that off in the CO2 side there. Piercing side, I don't know, whatever the hell you want to call it. I'm going to have to use that one. And then that's not a seal, that's a washer on there, but the seal here is about the same size as that washer, so I wonder if that should go on there, because there's a seal there. Looks about the size of that one there that goes in that groove on the outside brass part right there. So I'm going to go ahead and use that one. Just a lot of these little parts here that, except for that one, there's just don't seem to be any use for that I can see here. Oh, that's a screen right there, a filtering screen's got a hole in it. Got it? Must have stuck the seal pick through there trying to jostle it loose. Getting that thing out. And this second one, the seal, one looks like a piston seal right there. Didn't get one of those either. Guys complain about that. They're afraid to take the rest of the valve apart because there's certain seals they don't give you anymore. I can't imagine why. Not to mention, this seal in here. Don't give you any of those either. So I'll do the best I can to get this valve back together. Get it back together for now until I find this thing over here that I dropped on the floor. I don't know. I just don't know. And once again, I clean the inside of the valve before I start reassembling everything. Make sure I get all that old gunk and funk out of there. Here's what it looks like after cleaning the top side. And once again, remember that this piston cup goes in with that little ring thing facing forward, not backwards. I depicted it wrong. I clean the back side there too, where the guide goes on. Just gotta turn that thing around so it'd be easier for you to see. And that stem there, the bigger end, is hollow with ports on either side at the base, and that spring seat there is hollowed out slightly for gas movement. So it's pretty straightforward. It's a little bit different than like 760 valves and 160s, but not too much. And here is the CO2 piercing part, the bottom part of the valve. They just pierces it and ports the gas to the top part, basically. And had the filter in, then the piercing pin, which is hollow. And then that thing that looks like a piston seal. That collar is tore up a little bit, just goes under that threaded insert that holds it all together. And I just stick a large screwdriver in there sideways to crank that thing down tight. But it's all good now. Okay, forgot to film putting this back together here, but I'll show you that in a minute. It goes you gotta hold this up above this. You see where down there there's a little cast, it's like a cast box shape that thing fits in. You push this rod in there up inside the exhaust port stem here while you're holding this spring and a little C-clip down in this little sort of slot right here. There's not much of a slot there, I'm afraid. Hold that down with one hand. Stick this stem up in the exhaust stem housing and push it this way so it drops down. See if I can get, you see that little cast in like a fence down there? That fits there. It's rounded on this side so that this thing can push the stem of the CO2 cartridge in there and pierce it. Anyway, this is this fits on the front of the spring, and there's a hole there for a bolt. That's a bolt probe where you can pull it back and lock it in here to load the pellet magazine through that big slot right here. And it goes right up against this knuckle here, swings out, loads the pellet and brings it back down here to stick in the breech so you can shoot. That's why that flat valve guide thing's got to snap in on this end. That's got to stay in there and stay tight. Otherwise, this thing is fairly simple. It's amazingly simple how this darn thing works. And you got the two position sear for low and high power. As you pull all the way back on the last sear down there, you get high power. Well, that's it for now. So, that's it for this time. Good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. We'll see you again.